Imagine a world where a national policy, something designed with really grand ambitions to enrich the state, actually spirals into total disaster.
Right.
And not by accident, but by, well, a chillingly calculated design.
Mm,
It's a world where ambition, greed, and this brutal struggle for power just collide head on with the harsh realities of flood, famine, and thankfully the unyielding spirit of a few individuals.
exactly. And today we're taking a deep dive into just such an extraordinary chapter from Ming Dynasty China. We're focusing on the year 1561 AD.
Okay.
Our sources, they lay out this incredibly complex web of political maneuvering, economic exploitation, and just profound human drama.
Sounds intense.
It really is. It's a time when this powerful government policy, the idea of changing rice fields to mulberry farms for silk led to widespread suffering. And crucially, it was engineered by corrupt officials.
So our mission today is to follow these intricate threads of power, right? To really try and understand the motivations of the key players. We're talking everyone from the emperor himself way down to the common farmer.
Precisely. We want to see how individual choices, could either prop up this corrupt system or alternatively challenge the status quo.
And hopefully uncover those surprising facts, those aha moments that make this piece of history still feel relevant even now. So let's unpack this.
Okay, so at the heart of this whole crisis was an imperial mandate. It was known as the change rice to mulberry policy.
Right, you mentioned that. Silk production.
Exactly. The idea was to convert these vast rice paddies into mulberry fields to feed silkworms, boost silk production, and ultimately, fill the imperial treasury. On paper, maybe it looked like a strategic economic move.
But there's always a but, isn't there?
There definitely is here. And this is where it gets really dark. This wasn't just some straightforward, maybe ill-conceived, but well-intentioned policy.
Oh.
Our sources show that local officials, specifically Xing Banchan, the governor of Zhejiang, and He Maokai, the judicial commissioner, they got this sort of implicit nod from the powerful and notoriously corrupt Yan Party,
Ah, the Yan Party. Okay.
and also from the chief eunuch Yang Jinchui, who ran the Imperial Silk Bureau. And together, they engineered a deliberate disaster. They intentionally breached river dikes.
Wait, they broke the dikes on purpose.
On purpose. This wasn't a natural flood. It was a calculated act specifically to flood Chunan and Jianda counties.
Why? What was the end game there?
Simple, brutal economics, really.
Mm.
Forced the desperate farmers, with their fields completely ruined, to sell their land.
Yeah, rock bottom prices, I assume.
Exactly. Dirt cheap. Sell it to the very people who orchestrated the flood in the first place. It's just a chilling example of state-sponsored exploitation.
That is. Wow, the sheer callousness of it. Was it purely about the land grab and the silk profits, or is there some other political angle to ruining those specific counties?
It seems primarily driven by greed, this twisted kind of opportunism. The land, once flooded and bought cheap, would be converted to mulberry farms. Silk was hugely profitable, especially for export. The corrupt officials, their merchant allies like Shen Yishi, they stood to make enormous fortunes. The human cost, well, that was just, collateral damage to them, or maybe not even a consideration.
And caught right in the middle of this, you mentioned a tragic figure.
Yes, Li Xuan. He was the riverway administrator, basically the guy in charge of the dikes.
Oh, perfect scapegoat then.
Absolutely.
Huh.
Our sources paint this really haunting scene. He's summoned to a room, and everything is red. Red lanterns, red candles, red silk drapes, even the bedding, the cushions, all crimson.
Why red? Is that significant?
Red is often associated with celebration, weddings, good fortune. But here it feels incredibly ominous, almost like blood. Yang Jinchui, who is sort of his patron or godfather, is there.
Okay.
Yang offers him a bowl of pufferfish soup. Now, pufferfish can be deadly if not prepared correctly.
Right, famous for that.
And Yang Jinchui himself takes a sip first to show Li Xuan it's supposedly not poisoned. Then he essentially forces Li Xuan to drink it.
So it's not poison, but it's clearly a threat, a power play.
A massive one. And then, as if that wasn't psychologically devastating enough, they bring in Yun Yang. She's a woman connected to this silk merchant, Shen Yishi. Li Xuan is basically given her for the night.
Given her, like property.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It's brutal. The next morning, Li Xuan, probably still completely bewildered and reeling from the whole ordeal, is dragged off to his execution, along with others, to make it look like a proper punishment for the failed dikes.
And he just goes.
Well, sources say he sings this haunting kunkuo opera tune. It's a classical Chinese opera style, very expressive. Maybe it was defiance, maybe resignation, maybe a bit of both. Then he accepts his fate. It just starkly shows how individuals were just pawns easily sacrificed in these ruthless games.
But the truth doesn't always stay buried, does it?
No, thankfully.
Yeah.
A crucial piece of evidence surfaced. A confession from Ma Ningyuan, who was the Riverway supervisor.
Ah, someone who knew what really happened.
Exactly. He provided this damning document detailing the deliberate destruction of the dikes. And, crucially, he named the conspirators. Zheng Zhentang, He Maokai,
Uh-huh.
the key players.
So this confession becomes like a ticking time bomb.
Absolutely. Ready to explode right at the highest levels of power.
Now, what's fascinating here is the emperor, the Jiajing emperor. He had this reputation for being remote, almost reclusive, right? But was he really oblivious to all this?
Far from it. That remoteness was, in many ways, a facade or a tool. He was playing this incredibly complex game of chess with his entire court.
How so?
Our sources quote him referencing the Dao De Jing, the classic Taoist text. He says something like, "When the government is dull and blurred, the people are pure and simple. When the government is clear and discriminating, the people are lacking and deficient."
What does that imply?
It suggests he was deeply aware of the suffering, aware of the corruption. He knew the clear and discriminating government, meaning one deeply involved in meddling, often led to problems. But he chose these very indirect, almost philosophical ways of addressing it, or rather, managing it.
So if he knew, why not just step in? Fire the corrupt officials, fix the policy directly. Why the indirect approach?
Control. He was a master manipulator. That remote style wasn't about being passive, it was strategic. He deliberately let factions like the Yan Party and their rivals fight it out.
Divide and conquer.
Exactly. It ensured no single group got too powerful, keeping him as the ultimate authority. He often preferred to let crises develop, expose weaknesses, see who stumbled, and then act, rather than intervening early.
And he definitely made a move here, didn't he? Summoning key figures to Beijing.
He did. A very strategic summons. He called Grand Secretary Yan Song, the head of the Yan Party. He called Hu Zongxian, who was the Grand Coordinator and Minister of War, deeply involved in Zhejiang.
Okay, the man on the ground.
Right. He also summoned Chief Eunuch Lu Fang, who was Yang Jinshui's godfather, connecting the eunuch faction, and importantly, Tan Lun, who was a subordinate of Prince Yu, representing the emperor's likely successor and a rival faction.
So he pulls all the main players representing different power blocks into one place, creates a pressure cooker.
Precisely. A high-stakes arena for confrontation right under his nose.
And this puts Hu Zongxian in an incredibly tough spot.
Almost impossible. Think about it. He's juggling the flood crisis, he's supposed to be fighting Japanese pirates raiding the coast, and he's meant to be implementing imperial policy like the Mulberry Shift. All while being squeezed by the Yan Party, who he likely knows are corrupt, but are also politically powerful.
And now he has Ma Ningguan's confession, that explosive document.
Yes, he's got the proof of the dike sabotage. What does he do? Expose the Yan Party allies and risk their wrath, and possibly the emperor's displeasure for upsetting the balance. Or does he bury it and become complicit? He can't alienate the emperor, but he also can't get consumed by these feuds.
What did he do when he finally faced the emperor? The tension must have been immense.
It was. Sources describe the emperor questioning Hu Zongxian's actions, particularly executing some officials down in Ziyang without getting prior approval from Beijing.
Testing him.
Definitely testing him. Hu Zongxian, feeling cornered, actually offers his resignation. And it's then he presents Ma Ningyuan's confession as proof. Proof of why he acted, proof of the deliberate dike destruction.
And the emperor's reaction to this bombshell confession.
Surprisingly calm.
Yeah.
Almost unnervingly so.
Really? Not outrage.
No.
Yeah.
Which tells you a lot, doesn't it? It suggests he likely already suspected or knew much of it. The confession was the concrete proof he could potentially use. But he wasn't shocked by the content. His calmness asserted his control over the situation. He knew the game.
So what did he decide about Hu Zongxian?
He decided to keep Hu in office. But he did reduce his title slightly, removing his concurrent role as Zhejiang provincial governor, a subtle check on his power.
And then comes the truly tricky part. He tasks Hu Zongxian with both overseeing the change rice to mulberry policy and handling the disaster relief for the flood victims.
Exactly. It's an almost contradictory mandate, isn't it? Implement the policy that through corruption caused the disaster while also cleaning up the mess.
Talk about being set up for failure, or at least an impossible balancing act.
And there's more. The emperor subtly instructs Lu Fang, the chief eunuch, to protect Yang Jinshui, the silk bureau chief involved in the dike scheme.
Protect him, even though he was involved.
Yes, keeping a useful, albeit corrupt, piece on the board, perhaps, or maybe protecting the eunuch faction's influence for balance. And at the same time, the emperor signals that Prince Yu's faction people like Tan Lun, Xu Jie, Gao Gong, Zhang Zhusheng, who are seen as reformers, should send more people to Zhejiang to help.
Ah, so he's replacing some officials, but also deliberately injecting the rival faction into the situation. More conflict, more balancing.
It's truly a masterclass in imperial manipulation. He's not really solving the root problem of corruption. He's using the crisis to reshuffle the players and ensure everyone remains dependent on him, setting up future clashes, not resolving the current ones.
It really shows how he used the very corruption undermining his state to consolidate his own power, turning factions against each other. Classic divide and conquer.
On an imperial scale, designed to keep everyone, well, sort of off balance, except him.
So, with the Emperor pulling the strings from afar, the stage is set in Zhejiang for new players to arrive, and they bring their own ideals into this very messy situation.
Right. First, we have Gao Hanwen. He's a young, scholarly type, appointed as the Hangzhou prefect. Interestingly, appointed by Yan Shifan, Yan Song's son, part of that corrupt faction.
Okay. An idealist appointed by the cynics.
Seems that way. He arrives with this incredibly ambitious, almost naive slogan, Koktasho, which basically means combine reform with disaster relief to solve both problems at once.
Sounds good in theory.
But theory meets reality very quickly. He Zongxian essentially pulls him aside and lays out the grim truth. The local officials, the Zheng Bichang and Himao Kai, they fully intend to use this policy to exploit the disaster, not fix it. By lowballing land prices even further, Hu has to stress to Gao the absolute need for a minimum price he suggests, not below 30 sheet of grain per mu in the disaster zones and 50 sheets elsewhere. Remember, a sheet is about 130 pounds, a mu is about a sixth of an acre.
So setting a floor to prevent utter exploitation.
Exactly. And Haitu also emphasizes trying to distribute the land conversion burden, shifting some of it to non-disaster areas to protect the most vulnerable farmers. Gao Hendori is, understandably, pretty shaken by this. His neat slogan suddenly looks very difficult to implement.
But then another figure arrives, someone completely different.
Completely different? Hai Rui, the newly appointed magistrate for Chinan County, one of the counties deliberately flooded.
And his entrance is quite something, isn't it?
It really is. He arrives in Hangzhou, the provincial capital, not in a sedan chair or anything, but walking. He's got simple belongings. His gown is splashed with mud. He's wearing straw sandals, maybe even barefoot.
Wow. That's making a statement.
A huge statement in a society very conscious of status and appearance. His reputation precedes him. He's known as Hai Bijia, Hai Pen Rack, for his uprightness, like a pen stand that holds things straight. And also Hai Gang Feng, Hai Unyielding Wind, for his integrity and refusal to bend.
It's like he's broadcasting, I am not corruptible, from the moment he sets foot in the place. A deliberate counter-image to the silk and finery of the officials he's about to deal with.
I think that's exactly it. His very presence is a challenge. And he doesn't waste any time showing his commitment. His first real clash happens almost immediately.
What happened?
At the grain market. Soldiers, acting on orders from the corrupt local officials, are violently seizing grain boats. These boats were bought by starving villagers from Hai Ruiz County, Chunan, people like Kidazu. Grain is literally spilling into the river during the struggle.
Terrible. People starving and the authorities are taking their food.
Exactly. But Hai Rui, along with Wang Yongji, who's the new magistrate for the other flooded county, Jiande, they march right in there. Hai Rui boldly confronts the soldiers and their officer, declares his authority as the county magistrate, and orders them to stop the confiscation. Halt it right there.
Wow. Straight into the fire, his first defiant act.
And it sets the tone for everything that follows.
Which leads to a confrontation at a higher level, right? At the governor's yamen, the main administrative office.
Yes, a very heated debate unfolds there. You've got Zheng Bichang and Himao Kai, the corrupt governor and commissioner.
Sure.
But Gao Hanwen, the new prefect, surprisingly takes a prominent seat, sort of flexing his imperial backing from Beijing.
Okay, showing he has some clout.
And he insists that Hai Rui and Wang Yongji, the two county magistrates, must be present for the discussion. This already signals a shift.
And then there's the tea incident.
Ah, yes, the famous tea incident. It's almost comical if it weren't so revealing. A scribe, basically a clerk in the yamen, tries to subtly demand a bribe from Gao Hanwen just for serving tea.
Seriously, a bribe for tea.
Apparently so. Hai Rui sees this, understands immediately what's happening, and pointedly refuses to drink his tea. Then he just comes right out and asks, essentially, Do we really have to engage in bribery just to have a cup of tea in the governor's office?
Uh-huh. Calling them out right there. No subtlety at all.
None whatsoever. It immediately establishes his character. Zero tolerance. And Gao Hanwen, perhaps emboldened by this, then directly confronts Zheng and He. He tells them their proposed plan for the land conversion, especially the ridiculously low prices they want to offer farmers, does not align with his TED strategy, his plan to solve both problems.
He's actually pushing back.
He is. And Hairui and Wang Yongji stand right there with him. They basically say, if you proceed with this exploitative plan, we'll offer our resignations. We won't be part of it.
A united front from the newcomers? That must have caused some ripples.
It creates an immediate stalemate. It shows the corrupt officials that things might not be as easy as they thought. There's real resistance forming.
Now, lurking behind much of this economic maneuvering is the silk merchant, Shen Yishi. Tell us about him.
Right, Shinichi. He's this incredibly cunning, wealthy silk merchant. He's a key player in the whole change rice to mulberry scheme, deeply connected with both the Yan party officials and the eunuch Yang Jinshui. He's a money man in many ways.
And he operates in the shadows a bit.
Very much so. He has this secret, incredibly lavish pavilion hidden away in Hangzhou. It's called a Qin Chamber, a private space where he plays the guqin, that ancient Chinese zither.
Okay.
But this place is built with forbidden dimensions, meaning larger than regulations allowed for his status, and it's paneled with rare, expensive purple sandalwood. It's a world of hidden opulence.
An artistic side.
Apparently. Sources say he plays this ancient, very melancholic guqin piece called Guangling San. It's known for its profound sadness and themes of injustice. So you have this stark contrast. The ruthless businessman involved in ruining farmers, privately playing this deeply sorrowful music.
That's a fascinating contradiction. Is it genuine sensitivity or just another layer of his complex, perhaps manipulative personality? You almost wonder if he's reflecting on his actions or just, appreciating the aesthetic of tragedy.
It's hard to say for sure, isn't it? It certainly adds layers to him. He's not just a one-dimensional villain, but whatever his private feelings, his actions are ruthless. And it's in this hidden chamber, tragically, that we encounter Yun Yang again.
The woman who was given to Li Xuan before his execution.
The same one. Her presence there, forced to sing for him, her song apparently about separated lovers, is heartbreaking enough. But then comes this chilling confrontation.
What happens?
Shen Yishi essentially demands that she reenact her night with Li Xuan for him. Describe it, perform it almost.
Yeah.
He wants to gauge her worth, her potential usefulness. It just reveals the absolute cruel objectification, the suffering of women caught in this web of power.
And why does he want to gauge her worth? What's his plan?
He wants to use her against Gao Hanwen, the idealistic new prefect.
Oh, the honey trap.
Exactly. Zheng Biqiang and Qiao Maokai, the corrupt officials, they enlist Shen Yishi specifically to manage Gao Hanwen. They figure Gao can't be bribed with money, he's too upright for that.
But may be susceptible to charm, or rather blackmail or influence involving a woman.
That's their calculation. And Shen Yishi buys right into it. He has this incredibly cynical belief, a motto almost. But yeah, okay, City.
Which means?
There's no money that can't be earned and no person that can't be killed.
Wow. That's bleak. But it perfectly captures that ruthless pragmatism, doesn't it? That belief that everyone and everything has a price or can be eliminated. It's the ultimate distortion of morality by power and greed.
Absolutely. It shows just how far they're willing to go.
Yeah.
So yes, he plots this honey trap, planning to use the traumatized Yin Yang to compromise or control Gao Hanwen.
Yet, amidst all this cynicism and manipulation, Hairui remains this unyielding figure. His resolve seems unshakable.
It does, and we get a really poignant glimpse into where that strength comes from in a conversation he has with his aging mother before he leaves for Chinon.
What does she say?
She has this keen insight into the whole situation. She asks him, this is such an unconscionable thing, meaning the dike breaking and land grabbing. Does the imperial court just not care? She sees the injustice clearly.
A mother's worry, but also sharp political commentary.
Exactly. And she's deeply worried for his safety. She asks, there are so many high-ranking officials who aren't fighting this. Why should a mere county magistrate go and contend? It's a very practical, loving concern.
That raises a fundamental conflict for him, doesn't it? The clash between Xiao filial piety, his duty to his mother, his family line, and Zhang, his loyalty to the state, the people, his duty as an official.
It's the core dilemma, especially since he's mentioned as being the last male heir of 3 generations. The pressure to preserve the family line would have been immense. But against that is his powerful sense of justice, his ambition to purify the world, as the sources put it, kitch at the world.
How does his mother navigate this? Does she tell him not to go?
No, her wisdom is profound. She acknowledges the hardship, saying something like, "How many mothers in this world don't lead bitter lives?" She accepts the potential sacrifice. And there's this mention of her performing a symbolic ritual, frequently washing the floor at night.
Washing the floor.
Yes, it's interpreted as an act of cleansing, of purification, perhaps a silent prayer, or a way of shouldering some of the burden, preparing for the potential sacrifice her son is making. It's very symbolic.
That's incredibly moving. And didn't he receive encouragement from others as well? From Beijing?
He did. A very powerful letter arrived from Zhang Juzang and Tanlun, key figures in Prince Yu's reformist faction.
What did they say?
They acknowledged his deep filial piety, the conflict he must feel, but they strongly urged him to accept this dangerous mission in Zhejiang. They used this strong metaphor, referring to Hai Rui himself as a precious sword meant to be drawn and used for justice.
A powerful image. Don't keep the sword sheathed when it's needed.
Precisely. And they laid out the stakes in stark terms. They said if he were to perish for the nation in Zhejiang, then his mother wouldn't just be his mother. She would become, symbolically, the mother of all under heaven. And his daughter would become the daughter of all under heaven.
Wow. Elevating his potential sacrifice to a national, almost mythical level, that's immense pressure, but also immense validation.
It's a profound call to subordinate personal and familial duty to a higher cause, a heavy burden, but also a confirmation that his stand matters on the grandest scale.
So how does this section conclude his departure?
Yes. With Hai Rui's poignant departure from his home, he's clearly accepted the profound personal cost, the danger. There's this heartbreaking detail of his young daughter crying out, "Daddy, come pick me up."
Oh, that's tough.
It really is. And he makes a quiet promise to her, but he knows, and we know, the immense danger he's walking into. He steps out alone, just carrying his simple bundle into the night. It's this powerful image of quiet resolve, one individual stepping up to face a monumental, corrupt system.
What an incredible journey we've traced. We've navigated this really complex tapestry of power, deep-seated corruption, but also that unyielding human spirit.
Yeah, from the emperor's subtle, almost invisible manipulations, down to the brazen, brutal schemes of those local officials like Zheng and He, and the tragic lives like Li Xuan and Yun Yang caught in their wake.
It really shows how a single policy that changed rice to mulberry could just ripple destructively through an entire society, affecting everyone, top to bottom.
Absolutely. And this deep dive, I think, really reveals how tightly politics and economics were interwoven back then, how easily power could be abused, even when hidden behind the language of national interest.
And the sheer incredible courage it took for someone like Hai Rui to actually stand up against those overwhelming odds.
That central conflict, between personal gain and public welfare, between that ruthless, whatever it takes pragmatism of Shen Yishi and the unwavering principle of Hai Rui, it feels remarkably relevant, doesn't it? Even centuries later.
It really does. Which brings us to a final thought, perhaps. In our own world, which is often flooded with information, making it hard to see the truth sometimes, and where power dynamics can feel just as impenetrable, what does this story tell us about what it really means to, quote, speak truth to power?
That's a great question. It suggests it's not just about shouting loudly, maybe. It's about integrity, about calculated risk, about understanding the system you're opposing.
And maybe also about the hidden sacrifices. Hai Rui's story reminds us that lighting a path forward, especially when systems seem completely entrenched and resistant to change, often requires immense personal costs we might not even see.
That's very true. This story serves as a potent reminder that sometimes those seemingly quietest acts of integrity, like Hai Rui just refusing that cup of tea or walking into town with muddy sandals, can end up having the loudest, longest echoes in history.